Welcome back to the Urban Pharmacy. I hope that you are doing so well. Today's guest is John Allen Mollenhauer, nicknamed Jam, and he is a lifelong and driven entrepreneur. In the first half of his career, he appeared to be thriving on the surface, but internally, he struggled with excessive stress and fatigue. This took a toll on his health, success, relationships, and overall well-being, accelerating the aging process and impacting his longevity. However, everything changed when he discovered the potential of optimal living and embraced a new lifestyle. Jam became proactive in accelerating energy recovery, tapping into the flow state, and effectively managing his energy. Today, Jam is not only a more successful entrepreneur, but also a co-author of the book, The Curse of the Capable, The Hidden Challenges to Living a Balanced and High-Achieving Life. He collaborated with Harvard Psychologist Arthur Ciaramicoli, PhD, and Superbowl MVP Phil Simms on this project, and will be publishing the second edition circa 2025. Additionally, Jam is the founder of Regenus Centers, a performance wellness center that helps individuals unlock their body's resilience to bounce back from stress, pain, and fatigue. And he also teaches driven achievers types how to live the high-performance lifestyle. Outside of his professional endeavors, Jam is happily married and has 2 children. He is on a mission to help people change, improve, and optimize their lifestyles with added emphasis on aligning our habits with a healthy ecosystem. I hope that you enjoy this podcast episode. You're going to be inspired and learn more about how to live a high-performance lifestyle, and I think you're going to love it. Here's John. John Mollenhauer, welcome to the Urban Pharmacy podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Stacey, it is great to be here. Especially after a great weekend where we met up. It's awesome.
Yes, we met literally less than 7 days ago, less than 1 week, and we were like, let's do a podcast. Let's roll with the energy that we have from this event. John and I met in New Jersey. You can tell me if I'm telling the Long Valley area, right?
Yeah.
Ethos Farms event. It was amazing. Dr. Ron Weiss has a couple hundred acres of preserved wild land that is historic, and he has created not only an amazing space for locals to come and buy organic produce and heal with the plants that way, but also he has a practice as a doctor on the land in the building where he sees patients. And it's so great because he can take it from seed to soil to health in one beautiful, circular way. And Dr. Rice had an event. Many influencers came, doctors, people who are big in the lifestyle medicine movement and the farming movement, to help create awareness about health and our soil and the environment and how it all plays together. So it was an amazing event. I got to bring Cohen, and John and I met. John brought his daughter, and they, our kids were playing and we were chatting, and we just totally hit it off. And I'm so glad that we got to align. And now you're here on the podcast.
Well, that was an absolutely wonderful recap.
Yeah.
The entire day weekend, and Gracie loved playing with Cohen. And yes, we got a great chance to talk and share notes on just what we're doing in the world, and I think that led to where we are today.
Yeah, we are talking about peak performance, and before we get into what that really means, we need to hear about John's background, because all of what he has done in his life up to now is kind of around that topic. Like, how do we really level up? How do we step up into our higher version and make the biggest impact here while we can? And so, John, I want to know more about your story. How did you get into just healthy living in general, helping human beings level up? Where did this all start?
It's a big answer, but I'll try to condense it. I didn't actually start off as a high performance guy.
Okay.
I got into high performance because that's what the entrepreneurial world really demanded of me. Right. So I knew I had to be a high functioning, high performing individual in order to be a successful entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. So, I didn't start and say 25, 30 years ago, I'm going to be a high performance coach. I'm going to merge this whole idea called the performance lifestyle and teach people what high performance. And peak performance. We'll make that distinction later. I didn't get into any of this thinking that that was going to be my path. But I started off in the gym business. I was an athlete. My early story was marred with just exhaustion because I was, I got in business when I was 12.
Wow.
In the 80s, I was doing 20, 30 lawns a week.
Wow.
Right?
Yep.
It's a very juvenile story, but it's really relevant to what we're talking about because I was mowing 20, 30 lawns a week at a landscaping company. And then I started playing 3 sports, football, wrestling, baseball. I was in a leadership position. Then you got life. Then you got schooling. And, I started, by the time I got to my college years, my friends are just coming out of college and I'm having a midlife crisis.
Yeah.
I've already done a decade of work.
So much. Yes.
All out. And, I remember a friend of mine, Scott, who's got a 12-figure, he's 11, probably doing about 80 to $100 million right now.
Yeah.
Huge business. He was coming out. He started in the commercial cleaning space, and he said, "John, can you help me get my business started?" Because everybody looked at me, and I was like, "Scott, I'm 21 now. Like, Scott, I literally can't even think of doing anything right this second, right?" Because I was just worn down, and no one knew anything about energy at that point. It was like, get some sleep.
Yeah.
Or you're complaining, or you're whining, or you're something, right? And I had just been doing 7 days a week for years, and I was really tired. And but I didn't know what to do about it. I literally thought something was wrong with me, and that, forced me to turn to personal development because I'm thinking something's wrong with me. When all I was in retrospect was just worn down. I never took time off. I never took breaks. I never took the time to recharge, to restore, to rejuvenate. These were fluffy words in the fitness space at best at that time. So, it really, I worked for Tony Robbins for a bunch of years. I had, after college, or actually during college, I opened up a gym, bought my first gym. Then I started a chain of gyms called Major League Fitness. And, with the then strength coach of the New York Mets. So I was an assistant to him, and I had come from the gym business. So we opened up, 9 clubs. And I'm just turning like 23, 24, and life was moving forward at such a pace. And I had never stopped. I literally just had to stop. And I left the business. I sold my share, and I just got out. And that's when I turned to personal development. I went to work for Tony Robbins, and as if I thought that was going to be like some break.
Oh God, yeah, I know, right? Like, no, that's like that is like the opposite.
That turned into a vortex of itself. The only thing I didn't have was real estate to deal with and lots of employees. But I'm working with Tony Robbins, and that turned into a vortex, a literal mind morph.
Yeah.
Right? Fast forward, then the internet hits, and me being the entrepreneur, got to keep going, and so forth. That snowball just kept going, and my energy debt. I just kept overspending my energy and under recuperating, and my energy was going down and down and down. Meanwhile, I'm eating the healthiest diet in the world. I was fortunate when I was in my first gym. I got this rag magazine called a Health Report. How it showed up into a bodybuilding gym where you've got up to 160-pound dumbbells, I have no idea. But it was called the Health Report. It was put out by a guy named T.C. Fry, who was working with the American Natural Hygiene Society, which is the precursor to the Natural Health Association.
Yeah.
I'm a 240-pound burly third in Mr. New Jersey guy. I'm eating 30 eggs a day, right? Because I was in that whole fitness lifestyle with, animal protein to lose weight and build muscle, right? That whole lifestyle paradigm. And it shows up in my gym, and I'm looking through the pages, just sitting there one afternoon going, oh my God, I cannot even believe what I'm reading. For the first time, I'd actually seen health information. I knew nothing about health, right? All I knew was supplements, protein, working out, all that kind of stuff. And health principles. This was right when, you remember the book Fit for Life?
By Dr. Furman?
Marilyn and Harvey Diamond.
Oh, no.
This was the biggest book. It
Okay.
sold like 11 million copies.
Okay.
And that's, by the way, what turned me on to Tony Robbins, because Tony Robbins used to work with Marilyn and Harvey Diamond, and Marilyn and Harvey Diamond were major players at the American Natural Hygiene Society. They used to come every single, to every event. They were the big names back then. And Tony Robbins, when he first started his business, he actually worked with Marilyn and Harvey Diamond.
Okay.
And then he ended up working with Jim Rohn and then becoming the Tony Robbins we know today, right? But even Tony Robbins was in the movement of what is today called the National Health Association. So I'm literally in my gym reading through all of this, and within 1 year, that was when I got out of the gym business. I sold that because I was so taken by this information. Yeah. I was like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, because nothing in the gym business made any more sense to me. Mm-hmm. Because and I'm a guy who likes congruency. I assume you're very much the same way. Like,
absolutely.
Living's got to be in alignment with your values and what you know to be true. And
very.
Right? I mean, could you imagine living any other way?
No. And when you don't live that way, your energy's not there. And then, and it's like when you sometimes step back, like you said, you had to remove yourself from what you knew was not serving you. And then you stepped into, higher alignment. It takes time for you to be able to trust this journey. But when you are on it and you know that you're really living on purpose, and you know that all of the investment, time, energy, money that you're putting into yourself, it always ends up manifesting, if you will, just roll with me there, to where you need to be and to what you need to be doing. And okay, so hold on, let's back up. You were working for Tony. Now, what happened? Because you said that you worked with Dr. Furman. Did you do that as well?
Yeah, that would come years later.
Okay, so
years later. A lot happened in this time period. Yeah. This was like, it was so condensed and it was so amorphous, right? I went from my prior business, as a tradesman, to college, to opening up a gym, starting a chain of gyms.
Yes.
Getting introduced to health information for the first time in my life, selling out of my gyms, going and selling health courses for the guy who wrote that rag magazine.
Yeah.
And then working, that was where the whole Harvey Diamond, TC Fry, Tony Robbins thing all connected. And then I all of a sudden got turned on to Tony Robbins, and I'm like, whoa, this is when he was doing programs like the Mind Revolution, right? And Unlimited Power had just launched. And I knew he was tied into what I had just learned. So I went into Tony full bore, ended up buying a franchise and working that for the next couple of years, and training with Tony and going through all that kind of stuff. It was, to your point, what you were just saying, you have to trust the process. And
it's hard. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God, is it hard? Because I was trusting the process, though you would have never heard that language out of my mouth at that time. Right. It was just, I was just going where the universe was leading me, but I didn't understand any of these concepts. Right. But it was so amorphous that it was extremely uncomfortable. I mean, it was extremely uncomfortable.
Yes.
And that was the groundbreak that got me on the path. I remember being with Tony. I was out at an event called Certification in Hawaii. And I remember I used to call Tony like the Microsoft of personal development. He knew how to create frameworks. Mm-hmm. He knew how to identify organizing principles. And he built his whole career on the pain and pleasure principle by himself, right? Yeah. And then he created neuroassociative conditioning from NLP, and he created this this whole body of work. And I stopped and realized, I'm like, wow, what's my body of work going to be? And I'm asking this question at 24 years old.
Yeah, wow.
And that was when I made a conscious decision. I literally remember where I was. I was on this ledge watching Tony do phobia releases where people are like jumping into the
Oh,
water.
yeah.
Like a revival. People who didn't want to swim.
Yes.
He got them to, like, he knacked them, NAC, which was neuroassociative condition. He got them to change their association to swimming and jump in the water, and everybody's like, yeah, right? It's just awesome. And I remember right then and there, I said, I'm going to be the guy who illuminates this whole idea of lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what my brand was going to be. I didn't know what it was. But to me, remember the bigger context here. I'm exhausted from years of work. I'm now going through this amorphous period that has me so utterly overwhelmed. The people around me are perplexed. They're like, who's John?
Yeah.
He was 240. Now he's 160 pounds. He lost all his weight. He's communicating all these new ideas that Tony Robbins is pulling in his head. He no longer eats meat. I mean, all these changes are taking place. And I'm trying to get on top of it all. Like, who am I? Why am I here? What's my purpose in the world, right? It was literally like a 7-year period just like that.
Yeah.
And that's when I made the decision to say, you know what? I have to create a context for my life, for living. And personal development is endless. It will never stop. Okay? Yeah. But there's got to be some big idea that even though you continue to get better, has a contained set of fundamentals, of principles and practices, and a strategy that people can wrap their head around, that would enable them to have the energy, the health, and the function and performance that they need to succeed. And that was my entree into human performance. It was chaos into order. Yeah. And that's when my development of what would later, probably not for another 8 or 9 years, what would become performance lifestyle. And today, that's the trend. The trend is to develop a high performance lifestyle. But in order to have a high performance lifestyle, you first have to understand what a performance lifestyle is.
Yes.
Before you put the adjective of high before it, right? You need to know what a performance lifestyle is. You need to understand what the principles, the practices, and the overall strategy is, what the mindset and the skill set is. Mm-hmm. So you asked me about Furman.
Yep.
So I'm now 25 years old.
Yep.
And the internet hits. And I spend 6 years as a startup entrepreneur in the internet space. And all this did, I started one of the first social networks in the world. It was called eAcademy. It was called South Jersey Online. And then I launched a social network called eAcademy, which was it was a recognized social network at that time. The only thing is that social media wasn't a term yet, nor was social network. This is pre-Facebook.
Yeah.
But for me, it was amorphous again. And it was just reinforcement of what my purpose was in the world. Because we were working 18, 19-hour days. And this is what you have to understand. The thing to keep in mind here, I'm already eating a whole food plant-based diet. I made all kinds of mistakes in the early days. You know, it was like food combining was really big back then. You know, food combining makes sense, but it's not really scientifically sound. Right. I learned later, though it still makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, just our descriptions for things were not scientifically right, but they were headed in the right direction. Okay. And this to me was the early stage of biohacking.
Yeah.
As I see it today, right? Biohacking is when you go deep on a lifestyle strategy to optimize your results, right? Yeah. And but I'm exhausted. I'm still nowhere near actually tackling the energy issue. The only answers to energy at that point in time was nutrition and fitness, and think more positive. So I'm working in technology for a whole bunch more years. I actually take a break from entrepreneurial life and I work for a company. I'm now 32 and 33 years old. And for the first time in my life, I got a break.
Yeah.
Working for corporate America, I literally gave up. I don't want to live on purpose. I just want to work for a company for a couple of years.
Totally. Yeah.
And it was like a vacation. I couldn't even believe that they were paying me.
Yeah.
Like, you're really going to pay me all that money to do just this between here and there? you know, because as entrepreneurs, you know it, we work all the time.
Right. Right.
And we have to take time out for everything else.
Yes.
Because we structure our lives, our lifestyle, and our goals, and it's an all-in affair.
Right.
Right? That's
And
your experience too, isn't it?
yeah, absolutely. And I think that brings it back to the point where you have to find alignment, because if you don't find alignment, like with the way that you're living and you're an entrepreneur, like you're not going to have happiness, because you're not going to feel content with what you're doing. And it takes so much energy, and it takes, no matter what you do, you know, no matter how successful you get, like being an entrepreneur is like, you are the creator of what you're doing. So it's
100%.
there is a responsibility that will always weigh on you, no matter what, no matter if you're on vacation or what have you, no matter how many people you have working for you. That's always something that's there in the back of your mind. So again, if you are not in alignment, if you're not finding purpose or like passion in what you are doing, then it's like, maybe it's time to pivot. And it's okay to pivot as an entrepreneur, because the further, you know, experience you get, the more in-depth experience you go through, the more you're going to realize, okay, this is what I do like, this is what I don't like, here's where I'm going to go, here's how I can still make an impact, et cetera, et cetera. And you just learn and learn and learn. And like you said, you have to trust the journey. And like, it's difficult. And sometimes you have to take breaks. Like your body, your mind, like you listen to the signs, listen to like the nudges. If you have to take a break, because as an entrepreneur, you know, you're always going to be back.
You know,
You're always going to be back, you
so
know?
my break, to your point, my break was to go sell software for Fortune 1000 companies.
Yeah.
That was literally.
And did you learn through that process? Didn't you learn valuable skills?
Amazing.
Right?
This literally was the first time that I wasn't responsible for the ship.
Right.
All I had to do was play my role on the ship.
Yep.
And for 2.5 years, I'm thinking, wow, this is great. I mean, I went to I got a diving certification with Dr. McDougall.
Oh my God. Oh, you were like part of that whole thing. That's amazing.
I'm going on cruises.
Yeah.
I'm doing all kinds of things. I'm like, those were 2 of the happiest years of my life.
Yes.
Like I thoroughly, really enjoyed them.
Yeah.
I think it was also the first time that I got a break and got a chance to do.
Right.
And this was the moral of this story. And that is that by the end of that 2.5 years, I thought I had the issue licked.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't even close.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I did was I got out of the game of entrepreneurship and I landed on the life raft of a corporate role. Mm-hmm. And that's what it was to me, right? And I streamlined my whole life around just playing this one role. But I for the time being, I wasn't pursuing my dream, right?
Yes.
I was selling technology widgets, mm-hmm. and that was fun, right? Like I did it, and we went on skiing trips, and went up to Killington, Vermont, and went skiing, did all kinds of fun things. But to me, it was a break, right? To others, it was a career. To me, it was a break. And I thought, well, great, I got my energy back, I'm feeling really good, and I went right back into private business ownership again. Because darn it, I was going to get that social network launched.
Yes.
I had done 2 passes already. The second one, got killed in the 2020. I think it was the right at the end of 2000 when we had that big crash.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So we got taken out by that, and I wanted to make a third go of it.
Yep.
And this was the funny part about the whole thing, because this is the story, by the way, of how I got into high performance or peak performance, right? I got into it because it was a quest. Mm-hmm. So I'm going back into business ownership again. I'm launching a company at that time called My Trainer Networks, and same set of symptoms all showing up again.
Wow.
Okay? Again, I'm eating the healthiest diet around.
Right.
I'm exercising like a champion, and I'm saying, if I'm doing all of this, why in the heck am I so tired all the time? Why do I have these periodic bouts of exhaustion? And why is fatigue mounting? Like, why is my back hurting? Why am I emotionally erratic? I have all this personal development like that, right? Why am I, why am I this? Why am I that? Still feeling like something is wrong with me. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it would take, I was 33 at the time. I worked with Dr. Furman. I left technology and I started working with Dr. Furman for 2.5 years. We started to launch Eat to Live, and the China study was just coming out during that time, right? I helped get those books published with some contacts and some input. I helped him launch Dr. Furman online, just for like this short period.
Yep.
Before it was a little puddle jump as I was getting back into my own business again. And but that's when I really started to take strategies like food deep.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to take exercise deep.
Mm-hmm.
And I started building out what is today we refer to as the performance lifestyle.
Yeah.
Right? I used to, but it was just eating, moving, and sleeping. Those were the only three fundamentals of performance lifestyle at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was still struggling.
Yeah.
Because in a performance lifestyle, okay, first of all, performance, Stacy, at the end of the day, it can only convert to a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Unless your definition of performance is to take shots of, energy drinks, or take pills, or, take things from the, exogenously from the outside to boost your ability to function and perform. What else could performance be but a lifestyle itself?
Right.
And sleeping, eating, and moving are what I would refer to as core essentials of lifestyle, but they're not the only essentials of lifestyle, right? And I would go on to spend, like, okay, well, if I'm eating really healthy but I'm still tired, you have to make a distinction between, what is vital energy and what is the energy you get from calories.
Right.
When
Right.
I yawn, is that because I haven't taken in enough calories?
Right.
And the answer to that question is no. You don't yawn because of a lack of calories. You get hungry because of a lack of calories.
Mm-hmm.
You yawn because you're overspending what I would refer to today as life force or power, right? The kind of stuff that you get from sun and sleep, right? So I just spent like a whole nother, would take me literally 20 more years to really parse out and define what it means to live a performance lifestyle, and ultimately a high performance lifestyle, through all kinds of experiences that started with going deep on a few key ideas like nutrition, and then rounding out what the balance of a lifestyle that is fully working for you, not against you, actually looks like. That's basically been my path.
Hey, hopefully you're getting inspired by John. He's talking about how to level up. He's talking about entrepreneurship and really rising up into that next level, that next version of ourselves, right? And that, I feel, is very timely, because I'm going to do an invitation right now. I'm going to actually invite you to work with me. If you have this like hunger inside of you to level up and to just do something new with your life and to be able to impact other people's health, then this might be for you. We're going into the busiest buying season of the entire year, and I would love to work with you in the network marketing space. Now, as you know, I've been sharing clean beauty for 8 years now, and it is something that I'm incredibly passionate about because I have gotten wonderful results and I have helped so many other people do the same. I've also helped several women learn how to do a business of their own straight from their phone or on the soccer field or however they wanted to work their business. It is a totally up to you type of thing, but there's ways to make money in your own time and in your own way. And I want to teach you how to do that. If you want to earn, again, a couple hundred, a couple thousand, it is 100% up to you. But think of it this way. You're showing up with a servant heart. You're helping other people level up their health. And in turn, you're getting compensated. And if you want to grow a team and you want to ask other women to do this with you, it is another way to add on to that stream of income that you already have from sharing the products themselves. So click down below, click on the link that says schedule a business chat. It was just a free chat. I'm just going to help you understand if this is right for you. Working in the clean beauty space with me, I would love to mentor you. I love what I do. It's so fun. As you know, I love to help people level up their health and their wealth, and you can do both simultaneously. So without further ado, we're going to get back to John, but please click down in the notes. I mean, this is the best time to get into a new business. It's just so fun. So hope to see you in my calendar. I love that. I mean, it sounds quite holistic like that. And that is, remember, I teach 5 different pillars. I feel like you teach the same thing. Like you really practice and like, kind of follow the same sort of principles. The 5 pillars of holistic living for me are body nourishment, belief system, honoring earth, mind body connection, and success environment. And I think that the body nourishment is the most important at the top first, which is more than just nutrition. It's nutrition, it's lifestyle, it's literally all the things that nourish your physical body, right? But then there's also other aspects of holistic living, like your mindset, like, which is your personal development section, right? And your success environment. I think this is one of the key things that's missing. Like you said, you know, when you were doing that, when you were with like Furman and stuff like that, like you were around these other people that were really living this lifestyle, right? And like that environment matters so much to our success. So that's why I think that when you and I met at Farm Days, we were like, wow, like we both get it. We know what it's like to like really just be in I guess the game of life, if you will, like to really be like doing the thing, meaning doing what's hard, but what is put on us to do so that we can make the impact. But without our health in a holistic way, we're not going to be able to keep going. So having these people that we are, you know, surrounding ourselves with is part of our success environment. So like, if anybody is listening to this podcast and you're feeling like, man, I wish John and Stacy were my friends, well, then lean in on us and become our friends so that we can help you energetically, if you will, step up. Because if you're hanging around people that aren't, it's going to be really difficult to maintain the momentum that you want to keep when you're, you know, when you're on this path. So anyways, it's a holistic approach, and you're kind of into the, like, we're practicing all these holistic modalities. We're fine tuning all of these things, our body nourishment, our movement, our connection to earth, or our existence, whatever it might be. Now, how do we take it up another notch? How do we take it from like high performance to peak performance? What do we need to do? And what do you teach people now that can help them level up their experience and their, you know, their energetics, if you will?
Oh, it's a great question, and it's the big question. I don't refer to this as peak performance. A peak performance lifestyle is an extreme lifestyle. You have to be very narrow, very deep, and very unencumbered to be living at peak performance mode. Probably not have kids, probably not, you know, probably riding a skateboard. Okay. And even there, your people are really only at peak, maybe 15% of the week.
Yeah.
Okay. You can only be at peak performance at that level. You've got maybe 2 to 4 hours of peak performance at any given day.
Yep.
At best. The rest is high performance, where you're functional and you're able to, you know, you're able to process information, think good ideas, etc. Okay. That's going to be, you know, maybe 4 to 8 in a given day if you're really dialed in. Mm-hmm. And the rest is buffer and regeneration time. Yeah. And you can't skip any one of these cycles.
Yeah.
You can't have high performance all day. You'll be a burnout faster than you can think of it, right? And you know, so we're always going through this sort of high peak, high performance buffer, you know, where you start to wind down or ramp up. and regenerate cycle every day. You skip any one of those, we've all tried it, right?
Right.
Where you work all day and then try to knock off and go to sleep, and you can't. You have to stop, and maybe you eat or watch TV or go take a walk or do something. You have to buffer yourself because you can't face your day's energy expenditure, which would turn into, which you'll experience as fatigue. You can't experience that all at once.
Right.
You have to ease into it. So you have to, literally, that's why it was always 8 hours, 8 hours, 8 hours, because you had 8 hours of work, 8 hours of life. That's where the whole work-life balance idea came from. And then you would sleep for 8 hours and you would start all over again. But we don't do that today. Today, it's an all-out assault on success from the minute you wake up until, who knows, for some people it's midnight or longer. And then they wedge in some sleep, and that goes for the day. And that's sort of the default way of life that most of us are dealing with today. And some people break out of it and they start working out, and maybe they'll go to a gym and they'll be like, okay, I got to start taking care of myself.
Yeah.
They go to the gym, inevitably they'll probably get caught up in like a high protein diet, something like that, to lose weight and build muscle, right? Especially when you're younger.
Yeah.
And then you realize that's a false road. Most bodybuilders die when they're 40, 50, 60, 70 at the high end, right?
Yep.
They'll turn into, like a typical general healthy lifestyle where they'll move into just eating better, right? They'll stop eating maybe the bread on their hamburger or whatever. They'll start making little tweaks and changes and things like that. That's a typical generally healthy lifestyle. They'll think positive, maybe get out in the sun every once in a while, maybe go get an extra hour of sleep here and there, right? They're just, to them, they're making it. But that's not what you and I are talking
about. Right.
Okay. You and I are talking about what today is referred to as biohacking. We go really deep on a subject. In a way, like eating a whole food plant-based diet is like a biohack, right? It's totally natural, but it's where you're really zeroing in on the fundamental principle of what it means to eat healthy.
Mm-hmm.
You follow? So you and I would both agree. We would say, well, if I were going to dial into the most fundamental principle of eating, like what gravity is to walking, eating a nutrient-rich food is to eat it, right? That's the nutrient density of a food is what determines whether it's healthier, right? So you and I, amongst all the different aspects of lifestyle that we practice, we've gone deep on nutrition. Why? Because what does nutrition do? Nutrition, if you're eating whole foods and it's from plants, right, where all the phytochemicals are, which is what makes them nutrient rich, right? You get, the food has lots of phytochemicals in it. That's the one category of nutrients which, if it has that, it has everything else, right? If it doesn't have that, it's not from a plant, because you can't get phytochemicals, thousands of micronutrients that only come from plants. If it doesn't have that, you're automatically in an animal product or refined food product based diet, right?
Right.
So we're eating whole food, plant-based, nutrient-rich foods or micronutrient-rich foods, and we've gone all in on that. And what are the benefits that you and I experience? I mean, look at you. Your skin is like off the charts, right?
Yep.
Slower aging.
Internal mental clarity, cardiovascular benefits, longevity, like telomere lengthening. Come on, gut microbiome, there's studies and thousands and thousands and thousands of peer-reviewed, double-blind, placebo-controlled trials. What is it going to take for people to get this message? It's so there. It's so in our face. And it's simplistic. This is what nature has given us. And if we really want to perform well, this is what we can do to optimize all systems, right?
I like perfect layup.
Yep.
Couldn't be said any better. So when it comes to food, we don't go 5 degrees to the right and 10 degrees to the left. We don't compromise that. That's just, we don't think about what we're eating. This is how we eat, because this is the fundamental around food. that nature provided us, which if we practice deliberately and we're proactive about it, you get better and better results.
Yep.
Now, there's a fundamental like that across every aspect of lifestyle. There are fundamentals of energy. There are fundamentals of health, fundamentals of human performance. And when you tie them all together, you eventually pull together a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And now you can develop a strategy that is on purpose. And now, to your point, now we're no longer dealing with we're no longer distracted and held back by digestion problems, weight problems. I clogged my arteries. That's going to take 8 years of your life, right? I no longer have liver problems. My microbiome is not going crazy. I'm not suffering from skin rashes. I don't have, I'm not, mentally erratic because I have sugar coursing through my veins, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right?
Right.
We don't have to deal with that. How great is that about life? When we're talking about human performance, where you get free of all the distractions that are holding you back. From a dietary point of view, I mean, there's hundreds of them. Some people spend their entire lives trying to get free of the junk diet that they're eating or the nutrient-poor diet that they're eating. I mean, that's criminal.
I know.
That's a tragedy.
It's terrible.
That you have to spend decades of your life trying to get free of a hidden lifestyle challenge that you're not even aware of because everybody else told you it was healthy because it had 3 grams less fat in it or
because somebody told you it was normal because that's what majority of people eat. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Like Dr. Stefan Esser posted yesterday something, the statistics of like how, like, don't quote me on this, but it's like less than 10%. I mean, less than 10% of the American diet is fresh fruits and vegetables. Like, what are we doing? Or it's like right around there. Like, I mean, this is absolutely absurd. And it's because we've been programmed and fed into our entire life of where the big money really comes from, like where the big money is. Like it's funding subsidies and it's funding the big ag. Like, I mean, this is what we were just learning and talking about this last weekend at Farm Days. Like the funding is in the wrong places. The money is not going to the right places. It's not going to the small farmer, the small organic farmer. Like it's not going there. It's going to the people who are willing to grow genetically modified, pesticide-laden crops that are not only killing the planet, but also killing human beings and destroying our gut microbiomes and increasing our risks of cancer. And then that is being fed to the animals that are being, tragically confined and are killing our waterways through their confined operations. And it's just this really, really reversed cycle of nutrition. And it's not just nutrition, it's our entire existence. It's the way
it's almost like our entire economy is built. You have to flip that. For anyone listening to this, if you're going to eat animal products and refined foods, they need to be 10% or less of your diet.
Correct.
Period. 10% or less. And that doesn't mean I'm promoting 10%.
No, yeah, right.
It just means if you're going to eat them, they need to be 10% or less. 90% or more of the foods that we're eating have to be whole, plant-based, and nutrient-rich if you have any chance of being healthy and skirting all of these issues from all the lifestyle-induced diseases, which it's 85 to 95% of all diseases are lifestyle-induced.
Right.
And by the way, nutrition will not solve every one of these lifestyle-induced diseases. Because if you're like me from where we were before, where you're an overexerted, overstressed, overwhelmed, chronically under-recuperated entrepreneur, even with a plant-based diet, you'll shorten your life.
Yes. Okay? Yes. I mean, I've been in that boat. Like, I've been in that boat and I was at complete burnout and I was eating the cleanest diet. Like it doesn't matter. You have to take this in a holistic approach. Like you have to prioritize your buffer zone, right? The buffer zone. We've got to find the buffer zone. Okay. So John.
So it actually might make sense, by the way, to like, let's, what do you say we ramble on what holistic actually means?
Well, I think I have my 5 pillars. Holistic living is based on 5 different pillars. It's so interesting. I ask every single guest that comes on this podcast, what does holistic living mean? And everybody has such a totally different view. I mean, not totally different, but their own version, their own, idea of what holistic living means. And like yesterday, I was interviewing somebody and she said it's to be home in her body, to be present. And, T. Colin Campbell says it's taking the holism approach. There's multiple definitions to holistic, taking the whole approach or taking, that bird's eye approach and looking like is everything balanced? To me, it's about that quote balance, but it's taking a multi-dimensional approach to lifestyle wellness. And especially in this day and age, I think it's really important to prioritize. I made earth or honoring earth connection one pillar of its own, because we are so drastically disconnected from that our nervous systems are not able to even make do in this day and age anymore, which is, I think, why you have your business that you have now to help assist people getting back to the parasympathetic state or optimizing their, function on a daily basis at a cellular level, because we are so overtaxed from everything. We're overstressed, we're overstimulated from all the things. Like, we're just incredibly disconnected. And so my viewpoint is my 5 pillars. That's what holistic living means to me. What does it mean to you?
So I think and I love your pillars,
Thanks.
and because your pillars are also, they're fundamentals. So, like, for example, no matter what framework another person may have, those pillars are going to have to weave in there, because holistic living has got to be based on fundamentals, right?
Yeah.
Things that are true, right? Giving up smoking, for example, is not part of holistic living, because smoking is not a fundamental, right?
Right.
That's getting free of an addiction.
Right.
That's a man-made thing.
It's behavior,
So
it's habits. Yep.
It's understanding the fundamentals of energy, health, and performance. It's understanding it's understanding what promotes our health and what promotes our success. And to use a term you used earlier, and getting these in alignment, right? Yeah. So that you're fully supported, so that you are fully supported and what you're up to in the world, right? So, we could have countless hours of discussion on this topic, but I think for our listeners, the main thing that I think we probably both want to communicate around holistic living is you've got to have a lifestyle that fully supports you and what you're up to in the world, because our lifestyle is how we achieve our goals. Some people burn out and trade their health for their success, and other people, have supports built in for them to be able to achieve even their most ambitious goals while living in balance with vibrant health and peace of mind. But the reason why they're able to do that, I refer to these people as healthy high achievers. The reason why they're able to do that is because they understand the principles, they understand the practices, and they have a lifestyle strategy. And for each one of us, it might be 2 principles to start. Then it'll go to 4. Then it'll go to 6. Then it'll go, and it keeps going wider until you've basically covered all the fundamentals. And that's what we sought to accomplish with developing and defining what it means to live a performance lifestyle and a high performance lifestyle, right? But I think the key takeaway is that holistic living means you have a lifestyle that enables you to live in balance with vibrant health and peace of mind while you're able to achieve what it is you're up to in the world. If you're experiencing symptoms where you're exhausted, you're tired, you're overwhelmed, you're overstimulated, you're under-recuperated, maybe you're overfed, maybe you're undernourished, maybe you're super busy but you're physically inactive, maybe you're dealing with weight problems, mental and physical health issues, right? Or chronic diseases, chances are pretty good you are out of alignment with fundamentals and you don't have a lifestyle strategy. You're either living by default, or maybe you peeled off a little bit of fitness, or maybe you're eating a little bit better here and there, but you still have not identified the fundamentals of living, of successful living, and you haven't put them in a coherent framework that you can live by in your life.
Yeah.
And that is the big challenge of our time, because I think you agree. The world is throwing all kinds of things at us.
Right.
Take this and you'll sleep better. Eat this and you'll be better. Implement this strategy. That's why, I mean, how many people, Stacy, in your life have told you it's all so confusing, right?
Oh, I mean,
So many
yeah,
different ways
there's
of
so much.
eating, so many different ways of working out. Should I
Yeah,
do this,
absolutely.
that? They just throw up their hands and they just go back to default living.
100%. But the fact of the matter is that I think you and I could probably agree on this too. Taking the step to do any sort of lifestyle and maintain it is more important than nothing at all. And it's a journey.
Great point.
And like it's a journey to where you need to go. You have to get the fundamentals, which is creating habits that you can stack on top of every single day and create this, ideal life by design. Like the moment that your feet hit the ground, you know exactly what you're doing and why you're there. And I've lived in that space. And when I have really dropped into that space, I call it dropping in. I tell people there's periods of time where you're dropped in. You're just fully like where you're on it, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, like within your purpose, and you're making strides. And like you said, we can't stay in that spot for too long, because it's usually a lot of work. We're in that that peak performance, like for a moment in time. But like when you get there, you realize, okay, now I know what I need to do in order to get to where I need to go, but I have to create the habits of daily living and to be able to maintain this, because it's not maintainable. I've seen it over and over and over and over again with clients. They will get so excited to jump into a lifestyle of whether it's plant-based nutrition or whether it's really prioritizing their mind-body connection, or maybe they want to start a garden, or maybe they're going to start making all like mostly homemade food. They go all in on it and they burn out in soon after. But it's not about all or nothing. It's about daily imperfect actions. It trumps every single time. Perfect inaction trumps imperfect. I can't say it right. Imperfect action trumps no action at all.
Inaction.
And so we have to just trust that we're not going to just become that person that we like dream about overnight. It takes dedication and consistency and prioritizing your wellness in a holistic way to get there. So, John,
I just want to reinforce, before you go on, I want to reinforce this point, that how you said that, so beautifully put.
Thanks.
And I think really is probably the most important point, because you can start with one fundamental. You don't have to learn the entire performance lifestyle. Even if I gave that to you all at once, you gave it somebody 5 pillars instantly, they couldn't do it all.
Right.
You have to get good at it. We got to turn theory into practice, into mastery. And I love how you put that whole point. You've got to just get it in and realize that it's probably not your whole yet. There's something else that you're going to need to learn, and something else that you're going to need to learn, something else that you're going to need to learn. And eventually you start firing on all cylinders. But you spend time with each cylinder until you get proficiency. And then it's not like you're spinning all the plates all the time, because I think that's the false metaphor. Right?
It's habit stacking.
It's habit stacking.
1% better every day.
You do it really well, and then it leads to another habit that is then going to that's going to pick you up from there, and then it leads to another habit that's going to pick you up from there, and you string all these pearls together, and eventually you start to stabilize into this very holistic lifestyle, which is what I'm hearing you saying.
Yeah.
Right? You sort of stack into this thing where, oh, now it's time for me to do this. Oh, now it's time for me to do this, and like links in a chain, you get this forward momentum.
Yeah.
Because you have a whole chain. You're not sitting there with like 4 links wondering why you're not propelling forward.
Totally. That's what I say to people. Like if you were to look at your week and it's a chain, if you have, a broken link here, and then 2 days later you have a broken link here, next week, see if you can only have one broken link. It's not about like having no broken links at all time. It's about making sure that you keep the chain connected for as long as you can. And then you continue going if it happens to get a little weak. Like it's about that 1% better every single day. Like if somebody literally today, when they listen to this, say, I am going to get 1% better every single day for the rest of, or for 1 year from 365 days from now. If I did that for 365 days, my life would look completely different, right? And even if it were like I don't know, you brush your teeth a little bit better, you have a little bit cleaner of a meal, you take a little bit more time to meditate or pray on or intentionally take action, like just tiny little things. If you did that for a whole year, you'd have a completely different life in 1 year. Completely different life.
You move even faster when you actually have when you leverage other people's experience, like for example, your or what we refer to as a performance lifestyle, right? When you leverage decades of time that have been spent by people like us to define out and create these frameworks, and now you're not in the discovery, you're in the implementation.
Right,
discovery,
right.
You know, how long does discovery take?
It's forever to me.
So, I mean, I'm 54. Mm-hmm. I'm at this since I'm 14. I'm 40 years into this.
Yep.
Right? So we have to leverage the experience of other people to say, okay, great. I'm going to set the intention that I'm going to start for the first time in my life. I'm going to set the intention that I'm going to establish a lifestyle that I can call my own. Right?
Yeah.
And I need to know what the principles are. I need to know what the practices are. I need to get some guidance on strategy, right? And I don't want to make more out of things than they need to be, but I don't want to make less either. I don't want to spend 20 years learning how to eat. It shouldn't take you 20 years learning how to eat. It can't take you 10 years to learn how to sleep. It can't take you to learn the fundamentals of energy and energy management. It can't take you 10 years. We're only alive for 100, right? And we want to get it and get on with our lives.
Yes.
So this is the reason why people go to lifestyle coaches, performance lifestyle coaches, holistic health coaches, because you want to be able to get it and get on with your life. I'll just finish my part of this by saying that this is not the goal.
Right.
None of this is a goal. Like, to have a goal to eat healthy means that right now you have to not be eating healthy. Right? Like, eating healthy is not a goal. You eat healthy because you want to achieve your goals. And those are in life. They're in business. They're in sport. They're, parenting, family, raising a family, having a career, owning a business, being an entrepreneur, being an athlete, being a minister, being a creator. Those are goals. Eating healthy is not a goal. Exercising is not a goal. These are the things that enable you to achieve your goals.
Yes.
That's what when we say, I'm going to establish a lifestyle that I can call my own, that's going to fully support me and what I'm up to in the world. Now you've got the mindset, and maybe it's a little empty at the start, but I'm going to come to Stacy and I'm going to learn her 5 pillars, and I'm going to get them situated in my life so that I just get it into play, and this becomes the new way I'm going to live. And then I can tweak and improve from there. You follow?
Totally. 100%. Oh my God. 100%. That was so good. And it's so I hope that totally inspired the person that's listening right now. Hopefully you are on a walk outside somewhere listening to this podcast. And if you are, then you know that you're really doing this. You're doing this thing because you're really dialing it in. You're stacking your habits. You're getting in tune. You're like in this performance lifestyle that we need people like you. So, whether you're outside or not, that was just a cherry on top. But if you are outside and you're walking, then you're really doing the thing. So, John, that was so good. And I feel like that was a perfect spot to end, because this is we could probably talk all day. Maybe we'll have another episode for sure, because we can make it motivational talks with John. Like, you know, we need this on a normal basis. If we want to keep that mindset right, which is the belief system pillar, if we want to keep that dialed in, we've got to keep feeding it to ourselves, period. End of story. It has to happen. You can't just find it from within. You can do that too, but you've got to find the support system and the belief system that's going to help you continue on this lifestyle. So John, where can we find you? How do we stay connected? And if you have any final thoughts, it would be awesome.
Awesome. People can find me at performancelifestyle.com or at my center called Regenus Center. This is it's a small chain of recovery centers that I've launched that are helping people get very deliberate and proactive about recovery. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, and this leads right into the final thought, that we're living in a world today, it's a performance culture now.
Yep.
And it wants to keep you busy all day long. We've got access to more information and more opportunity than any other time in history. And we can achieve our goals seemingly faster than ever before. But there's a dilemma. The busier we get, the less time we have to take care of ourselves, our bodies, our lives.
Yes.
So we cannot be out in the world trying to be successful to live a better lifestyle. We have to live a better lifestyle to achieve our goals.
Yes.
And spiral up. The only thing that differentiates a healthy, high-achieving person who's thriving and a person who's just struggling is that they have that mindset and they have that skill set. They literally see their lifestyle as how they achieve their goals. Because they do that well, they actually achieve their big goals. And because they get the spoils of that, they just do the same things that they did to get successful, only now in greater style, right? Mm-hmm. At a higher level. But they're not achieving their goals to live a better lifestyle. They're living the better lifestyle right now.
Yes.
That's what's making them successful. And that's the thing that I would really like to impart. So you've got to manage your energy. You've got to make sure that you've got reliable health and it's built on the right fundamentals, and that those two concepts parlay right into what we call human performance. So a human performance mindset will win the day at the end of the day, because I think that dovetails into that holistic mindset. You're literally connecting the dots. And when you connect the dots on the way you're living and you start firing on all cylinders, oh my God, does life get better?
Right. Right.
And that's the way to go.
So good. John, thank you so much for your inspiration, your wisdom, and your insight this morning. We really hope that, you know, you'll come back maybe, and we can have another conversation on how to just continue stepping into alignment so that you can make the greatest impact in this world and continue chipping away at the lifestyle that's going to get you to where you want to go. All right, John.
Stacey, you're a beautiful person. You have so much wisdom. It's amazing. I've been on a lot of podcasts. The way you put things is so articulate. I just love listening to your descriptions and all the things that you brought up and the way you just describe things. And for all of our listeners who are listening to this podcast, you have a great guide in Stacey. She's awesome, and it's a real privilege to have met you this past week.
Well, we'll see you at the next Farm Days, if not sooner, my friend. We'll see you later. Thanks so much, John, for being here. Take care.